Joining me now is Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. Senator, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. Your reaction to all of this as the filibuster issue takes center stage once again.
Good morning, Maria. Well, first, I think you have to understand the Democrats' primary goal in keeping the government shut down was to deny President Trump and Republicans any success. They certainly used health care as an excuse, but bottom line, they want to make sure that Republicans and President Trump have no success so they can win the midterms. It's all about power for Democrats. If they're really interested in health care, they want to shut down the government. They know there's a lot of us in the Republican conference. I'm happy to work with anybody who wants to acknowledge the problem and then repair the damage done by Obamacare and transition to a system that works. There's a lot of us that like to do that, but that's not what they did. They shut the government down, costing our economy, as previous guests said, hundreds of billions of dollars. That's their game plan. And I think Republicans have to recognize the reality that the minute Democrats have the majority, they will eliminate the filibuster, and they will do all those things. I agree with John Barrasso. It's very sad the Democrats don't respect the filibuster anymore, but they don't. They purged the two members of their party that actually, held the line and maintained the filibuster. All of them now in the Senate have pledged to eliminate the filibuster. I can't imagine a Senate Democrat candidate who also won't pledge to eliminate the filibuster. So we have to recognize that reality. And so if we eliminate the filibuster, we'll do it so we pass good legislation to benefit Americans and America. We'll fully secure the border. We'll secure our elections. Hopefully we'll repair the damage of Obamacare, transition to a system that works, and have a strong economy. That's not what Democrats want. They want power.
Yeah. What about these Affordable Care Act subsidies? The cliff remains with the calendar where we are, 40 days until they expire. What do you think this big announcement is on health care that the White House has been alluding to?
Well, first of all, understand 22 of the 24 million people supposedly signed up for the exchanges. Some of those are fake. 22 will just revert to the original Obamacare subsidies. So if you don't like that, well, you don't like the original Obamacare, and I don't, and it's caused premiums to skyrocket. There's about 1.6 million people above 400% of the poverty line who got lured into retiring that are facing, in some cases, $33,000 premiums. I'm willing to work with people on that, but you have to have real reforms. You have to get rid of the no-zero premium policies that have led to about 6 million people fraudulently signed up for Obamacare, costing us $20 to $30 billion in fraudulent payments to insurance companies. So there's a lot of complexity here, but Democrats first have to acknowledge the problem. It's Obamacare that has caused premiums to skyrocket. One analysis, 169% increase since Obamacare. That's 4.3 times rate of inflation. So it's Obamacare is the problem. It needs to be fixed.
So, I mean, President Trump has said many times that he would like the American people to have the money in their hands to decide how they want to deal with health care. Are you expecting that to be the announcement? I mean, what is the plan on health care?
Well, Maria, you report on business, and you realize a free market system guarantees three basic things: lowest possible price and cost, best quality, best level of customer service. Gee, wouldn't that be nice to have in healthcare? We've basically driven free market competition out of healthcare. The way you return it, consumerism. So you do that with things like health savings account. Allow people to buy their own insurance. Let them buy any kind of insurance they want. Short-term duration plans, association plans. We ought to return high-risk pools. They weren't perfect. With a couple of tweaks, we could have made sure that people with pre-existing conditions would actually have coverage, which, by the way, Obamacare does not guarantee. You have to sign up for Obamacare the first year. If you don't, and you have a pre-existing condition, you can't sign up for Obamacare till the start of the next enrollment period. So Obamacare is by no means perfect when it comes to pre-existing conditions. That's a real problem. Guarantee issues are a problem because if you don't force people to have insurance, they will, or if you allow them to sign up at any point in time, who's going to sign up for insurance until they get sick? I mean, if you could do the same thing with car insurance, who's going to buy car insurance till you have an accident? Again, you have to recognize economic realities, and Obamacare did not recognize those realities.
So what about these $2,000 checks that the president has been talking about? Would that fly in terms of passing the Congress, or do you expect that the only way that could actually see the light of day is through a second reconciliation package?
Well, first of all, Maria, we're $38 trillion in debt. We've averaged $1.9 trillion deficits over the last 5 years. Over the next 10 years, the projection is about $26 trillion in cumulative deficits. We have to address the deficit problem. We are on borrowed time here. So many people are whistling by the graveyard. If we're bringing in revenue through the tariffs, that ought to be applied to reduce the deficit, not just making a cash payment to Americans.
It sounds like you would vote no in terms of $2,000 checks going to individuals.
We can't afford it. I wish we were in a position to return the American public their money, but we're not. We'll have at least a $2 trillion deficit this year. Again, that compares to prior to the pandemic. You know, President Trump had deficits. He's running about $800 billion. Obama, his last 4 years, $550 billion a year. Now we're $2 trillion. Completely unacceptable. We have to start focusing on that and doing something about it.
Senator, let me move on to the Biden Justice Department and how they were trying to take their political enemies down. They issued subpoenas back in 2022 for the personal phone records of several GOP lawmakers, including yourself, including House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, all part of Operation Arctic Frost, headed by Special Counsel Jack Smith. He saw data from as far back as 2020, when Jordan was the top Republican on the Judiciary Committee. You sent a letter to Judge James Boasberg about Jack Smith's gag order, preventing telecom companies from even alerting members of Congress that their phone records were being collected. It looks to me like Jack Smith used corporate America to do the dirty work. He went to Verizon, demanded phone records from Verizon, from AT&T. Then they went to J.P. Morgan and asked for bank records from J.P. Morgan. This was so much bigger than anyone expected. And you yourself told me that there were 38 people from Wisconsin alone, ordinary citizens who would never even think about breaking the law, who were also tracked. What is your assessment of this operation?
Well, this is a massive partisan dragnet designed to cripple the Republican Party. Make no mistake about that. Obviously targeting Trump, certain members of Congress, but also just ordinary American citizens, God-fearing, country-loving, law enforcement supporting people. Specifically in terms of Judge Boasberg, the telecoms enter into agreement with the Senate where they will disclose to the Senate anytime there's a legal process trying to obtain records. Okay, that's contractual. There's a law in the books that contract can't be violated by any court order. So what Judge Boasberg did in issuing these non-disclosure orders, I believe, is illegal. So we sent a letter to Judge Boasberg to answer, did he not know about that law? Did Jack Smith not disclose that to him? He's got till December 4th to respond to us. I hope he does.
That's unbelievable. Look, I spoke with Rick Grinnell yesterday, as well as Mike Davis, to discuss these last 10 years, which to me look like a conspiracy against President Trump. I'd like to see if there's ever going to be accountability. It doesn't seem so, because we just keep seeing more of the same, Arctic Frost being the latest. Here's Rick Grinnell with me yesterday. Watch.
The bureaucracy led by the Democrats and the press are going to attack President Trump every time he tries to reform Washington. When President Trump arrived in 2017, really beginning in 2016 with the election, the intelligence community and others had so many bad apples that they went after President Trump and created the Russian collusion hoax and all of these other things. What they're trying to do is mount an insurrection from within. I hope that John Ratcliffe and Tulsi Gabbard understand that they've got to dig deep now to figure out how do we stop any of these leaks that are clearly going to be coming.
And you believe the lie that was Russia collusion actually led to the current state of affairs with this Russia war on Ukraine.
They have propped up a phony intelligence. It goes back to the early days of Ukraine, after Joe Biden spent 4 years not talking to Putin and literally digging us into a deeper hole.
So anyone who politicizes and weaponizes intel agencies and law enforcement to go after their political enemies for non-crimes has committed a very serious crime, conspiracy against rights under 18 USC Section 241, and this goes all the way to the top of the Obama administration. President Obama, Vice President Biden, Hillary Clinton, James Comey, Clapper, Brennan, Jack Smith, Jay Bratt, Andrew Weissman. There are so many dirty actors in this ongoing criminal conspiracy against rights. These people must be held accountable. I know that the new Miami U.S. Attorney has opened up a grand jury at Fort Pierce, Florida, that's going to be impaneled in January. And I would tell these lawfare Democrats they better lawyer up.
Do you really believe that Obama is going to get indicted?
Presidents have presidential immunity for their official acts. At a minimum, he could be named as an unindicted co-conspirator.
Senator, what do you make of that? That was Rick Grinnell, followed by Mike Davis. Of course, you know Mike Davis used to work with Chuck Grassley. Your reaction?
Well, first of all, starting with Obama and Biden, that entire cast of characters, the damage they've done to our democracy is incalculable. You know, when I ran on the ballot with President Trump in 2016, I always referred to him as the political equivalent of a disruptive technology. Now, all these elections are always about change. Well, the American people wanted change. The permanent bureaucracy does not. And so from day one, they sought to destroy that political disruptor, and they are continuing to do it. So, no, I think all those individuals named are criminals. What they have done to America, China and Russia could only dream of doing that level of damage to our body politic than what Obama, Biden, and the entire cast of characters has done. It's shameful. I mean, the most recent video by the members of Congress who basically were encouraging people to defy presidential orders by implying that what President Trump was ordering was illegal is disgusting. It's shameful what they've done. But it's just they just continue, and they get cover from the legacy media, who basically is a communication wing of that. And that's a true insurrection that's happening within the Democrat Party. It's the radicalized Democrats that are the true danger to our democracy.
Well, it certainly does appear that the liberal media does give them cover. These are extraordinary stories, Senator, and extraordinary times, really. We're going to keep a spotlight on it for sure. Good to see you this morning, sir. Thank you.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Senator Ron Johnson in Wisconsin. We'll be right back.